December 7, 1941. Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. The harbor is already on fire. Thick black smoke climbs into the blue Hawaiian sky as explosions echo off the surrounding hills. Oil burns on the water's surface, turning the bay into a boiling mirror of flame. Men run along the decks of shattered ships, shouting orders that vanish beneath the thunder of bombs. And in the center of it all, the USS West Virginia is dying. A Japanese torpedo slams into her portside with a violent crack. Steel bends, rivets tear loose. Water pours in faster than pumps can expel it. Then another torpedo hits. Then another. 6 in total. Each one punches deeper into her hull. Inside the battleship, sailors are thrown against bulkheads. Lights flicker. Steam lines rupture, filling compartments with scalding vapor. Alarms scream. The ship lists heavily to port. Flooding in compartment B203. Seal the bulkhead. We're losing pressure. You can almost feel the deck tilt beneath your feet. Captain Mervyn Bennion stands on the bridge, shouting commands through the chaos. Shrapnel rips through the air. A bomb explodes nearby, sending a wave of heat across the deck. Bennion is struck by fragments. Blood pours from his wounds. But he refuses to leave. He grips the railing, steadying himself as his ship continues to sink. Keep fighting the fires, he orders. Do not abandon ship. The West Virginia settles lower and lower in the water. Nearby, the USS Arizona erupts in a massive fireball, the explosion shaking the harbor. Sailors aboard West Virginia turn their heads just in time to see the blast tear the battleship apart. They know what that means. If their ship explodes too, no one survives. A decision that saves lives. Below decks, damage control teams work desperately, sealing compartments one by one. Water keeps rising. The list worsens. If the ship capsizes, hundreds will be trapped inside. Captain Bennion knows the truth. The West Virginia cannot be saved today. But her crew can. He gives the order that will define the ship's fate. Counterflood. Set her down. Seawater is deliberately allowed into selected compartments, lowering the battleship gently onto the harbor floor. It's a desperate move, risky, unthinkable in peacetime. But it works. The West Virginia sinks upright, her deck still above water, flames licking across her superstructure. She does not roll, she does not explode. Men escape. Hundreds live because of that decision. Captain Bennion collapses shortly after, mortally wounded. He will die that day, still aboard his ship. By mid-morning, the battle is over. Pearl Harbor is silent except for the crackle of fire and the groans of twisted metal. The West Virginia rests on the bottom of the harbor. 6 torpedoes. Multiple bomb hits. Flooded compartments. Burned superstructure. To the world, she is finished. Total loss. In the days that follow, American and foreign observers study the wreckage. Photographs of the sunken battleships spread quickly. Naval analysts reach the same conclusion. The USS West Virginia is beyond repair. Her hull is shattered. Her machinery drowned. Her electrical systems destroyed. Her armor warped by explosions. Even some US Navy officers quietly agree. She will never sail again. Across the Atlantic, German naval intelligence reviews reports from Pearl Harbor. They take note of which American battleships were destroyed and which might return. The West Virginia is dismissed almost immediately. 6 torpedoes. That kind of damage means one thing in naval warfare: permanent loss. One German officer reportedly remarks, "No Navy resurrects a battleship after that." The ship is mentally written off, scrapped in theory, if not yet in practice. But deep beneath the scorched decks of the West Virginia, something still exists: hope. And in the weeks to come, a group of American engineers is about to make a decision that will shock not only Germany, but the entire world. Because the West Virginia is not going to die quietly. She is going to rise. Pearl Harbor. January 1942. Dry dock number 1. The smell of oil never leaves the harbor. Weeks after the attack, the water around Battleship Row is still thick with fuel and debris. Sunken hulls protrude from the surface like wounded animals. Cranes creak as they lift twisted metal from the water. Divers move slowly beneath the surface, feeling their way through darkness and wreckage. And there she is, the USS West Virginia. Blackened. Broken. Still. From above, she looks like a corpse. Burned superstructure. Shattered decks. Her proud lines bent and scarred. Water laps quietly against her sides, hiding the real damage below. Most men walk past her without stopping. A few pause, shake their heads, and move on. But a small group of naval engineers does not. They stand at the edge of the dock, clipboards in hand, staring down at the sunken battleship with a different expression. Not despair. Calculation. Rear Admiral Homer Wallen steps forward. He has been given a task no one envies. His orders are blunt. Salvage what you can. Clear the harbour. Get the base operational. That is the official mission. But Wallen looks at the West Virginia and sees something else. A chance. He turns to his engineers. Gentlemen, he says quietly, what if we don't scrap her? There is a pause. One engineer exhales sharply. Sir, she took 6 torpedoes. Another adds, her hull is torn open from stem to stern. Machinery compartments are flooded. The fires burned for days. A third shakes his head. It would take years, maybe more, and that's if she even holds together. Wallen listens. Then he says something no one expects. Then we'll do it faster. The men stare at him. You're serious? One asks. Wallen nods. We need ships, we need firepower, and we need it now. If there is even a chance she can fight again, we take it. Silence. Then one engineer speaks the words everyone is thinking. Sir, raising her might kill men. Wallen meets his gaze. So did leaving her on the bottom. The decision is made. The West Virginia will be raised. Diving into a grave. The first salvage teams enter the water at dawn. Below the surface, visibility drops to almost nothing. The harbour floor is a maze of jagged steel, dangling cables and human remains. Oil coats everything. The water tastes metallic. Divers tap on the hull as they move, counting compartments, feeling for breaches. They find torpedo holes large enough to drive trucks through. Entire sections of plating are peeled outward like tin. One diver surfaces, pulling off his mask. She's ripped open, sir, he reports. Multiple holes below the waterline. We'll need patches the size of houses. Wallen doesn't hesitate. Build them. Work begins immediately. Steel cofferdams are lowered and bolted over the torpedo holes. Pumps are installed by the dozen. Air hoses snake across the deck. Welding torches flare beneath the water, sparks hissing into darkness. The work is relentless. Divers stay down too long. Men pass out from fumes. Equipment fails constantly. One salvage officer mutters, "This isn't repair work, it's resurrection." The dead are still there. Then comes the hardest part. As compartments are drained, the divers begin to find bodies. Sailors trapped by flooding on December 7th. Men who never made it out. Weeks later, they are still at their posts. One engineer refuses to leave the dock after the first recovery. "I knew some of them," he whispers. Work stops briefly as remains are removed with care and silence. No cameras, no speeches, just respect. Then the pumps start again. Because stopping means failure. The ship begins to breathe. By late spring, something remarkable happens. The water level inside the hull drops. The deck rises inch by inch. The battleship shifts slightly, settling against the supports built beneath her. One morning, a worker shouts, "She's moving!" Men rush to the edge of the dock. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the West Virginia lifts herself free of the harbour floor. Mud and debris fall away from her hull. The waterline appears for the first time since the attack. Cheers break out across the dock. A chief petty officer wipes his face. "I'll be damned, she's alive." News travels fast. Word of the salvage effort spreads. Across the Pacific, Japanese intelligence notes the activity at Pearl Harbor. Photographs show cranes, scaffolding, and repair crews swarming a ship they believed destroyed. The reports are dismissed. Cosmetic repairs, one officer concludes. They will strip her for parts. Across the Atlantic, German naval analysts reach the same verdict. A battleship hit by 6 torpedoes does not return to combat. It cannot. It will not. They do not understand something fundamental about the Americans working in that harbor. These men are not asking if it is possible. They are asking how fast it can be done. And the answer is about to shock the world, because raising the West Virginia is only the beginning. Pearl Harbor Naval Shipyard. Summer 1942. The USS West Virginia no longer rests on the harbor floor. She now sits in dry dock, towering over the men who swarm across her hull like ants. From a distance, she looks whole again. Up close, the illusion disappears. Her skin is torn open, her insides gutted, her heart drowned. Water still drips from compartments that were sealed for months. Rust streaks stain the steel like scars. Entire sections of armor have been cut away, exposing ribs and machinery never meant to see daylight. And yet, work does not stop. Not for an hour. Not for a day. This is no longer salvage. This is reconstruction, stripping her to the bones. The first order is brutal. Everything damaged beyond certainty is removed. Guns, cables, engines, wiring, fire control systems. Men haul out tons of ruined equipment. Some of it is barely recognizable. Saltwater corrosion has fused moving parts into solid blocks of rust. Electrical panels crumble when touched. One engineer shakes his head. Replacing this is faster than fixing it. Another replies, "Good, then let's not waste time pretending." The ship is stripped to her skeleton. And that is when the vision changes. Rear Admiral Wallin walks the dock again, studying the exposed hull. He doesn't see a relic of the past. He sees a blank slate. "We're not just fixing her," he tells his staff. "We're modernizing her." That word spreads quickly. Modernizing. The West Virginia will not return as she was in 1941. She will return as something better. A new battleship inside an old hull. Design teams work day and night. Anti-aircraft guns are added by the dozens. Radar systems are installed that did not exist when she was launched. Fire control computers replace manual systems. Armor is reinforced in vulnerable sections revealed by the torpedo damage. Her silhouette begins to change. Where she once bristled with outdated secondary guns, sleek new mounts rise. Where lookouts once relied on eyesight alone, radar antennas now spin silently. One sailor jokes as he watches new equipment being hoisted aboard. "She's getting younger every day." Another answers, "She's getting angry." The clock is the enemy. Time is everything. The Pacific War is expanding. American ships are needed everywhere. Every month a battleship sits in dock is a month the enemy controls the seas. And yet, no shortcuts are taken. Engineers refuse to rush welds. Inspectors crawl through compartments checking seals. Damage control officers simulate flooding scenarios again and again. One supervisor snaps at a tired crew. "I don't care how long you've been awake. If this ship goes back to war, men will trust her with their lives, make it right." Men nod and return to work. Some sleep in their clothes. Some don't sleep at all. Skepticism beyond the harbor. Not everyone believes in the project. In Washington, some officials question the expense. "She's old," one memo reads. "New construction might be more efficient." Wallin responds personally. "New construction takes years. This ship will take months." Across the Atlantic, German naval intelligence continues to dismiss reports. "Yes, the Americans are repairing a damaged battleship," one analyst writes. "But such damage cannot be fully reversed. She will never fight effectively." The conclusion is clear. The West Virginia is a morale project. A symbol. Nothing more. They are wrong. The moment of truth. By mid-1943, the day arrives. Flooding tests are complete. Systems are powered up. Engines are brought online. The dry dock begins to fill. Men watch silently as water rises around the hull. Pumps whine. Steel creaks. Everyone waits for leaks. Seconds pass. Then minutes. No alarms sound. The West Virginia floats freely once more. A chief engineer exhales slowly. She's holding. A captain runs a hand along the rail. After 6 torpedoes, she's holding. Power returns. The engines are started. At first, only a low vibration passes through the deck. Then the turbines spin faster. The ship comes alive. Lights flicker on across compartments that were once tombs. Radar screens glow. Gun mounts rotate smoothly. Elevators hum. A sailor who survived Pearl Harbor stands on deck, staring at the revived ship. "I thought I'd never walk her again," he says quietly. Someone claps him on the shoulder. She wasn't done yet. The Ghost leaves harbor. Late in 1943, the USS West Virginia slips away from Pearl Harbor under her own power. No ceremony. No band. Just the low rumble of engines and the wake spreading behind her. Dock workers stop what they're doing and watch. One mutters, "Good luck, old girl." Another adds, "Show them what 6 torpedoes really mean." Across the ocean, enemy intelligence notes something unsettling. The West Virginia is no longer listed as damaged. She is listed as operational. The ghost ship is sailing, and soon she will return to combat. Where she goes next will leave commanders across the world stunned. Pacific Ocean. Late 1944. The USS West Virginia cuts through open water, her bow steady, her engines smooth and powerful. From a distance, she looks like any other American battleship. Up close, she is something else entirely. New radar arrays spin silently above her superstructure. Anti-aircraft guns line her decks in dense clusters. Her fire control systems hum with quiet precision. This is not the ship that lay burning at Pearl Harbor. This is a rebuilt weapon. On the bridge, officers study charts and radar screens as the ship joins a massive Allied armada moving west. Destroyers weave around her. Cruisers hold formation. Carriers loom in the distance, launching aircraft in endless waves. The West Virginia has a destination. Leyte Gulf. Memories that do not fade. Below decks, sailors move through compartments that once held water and death. Some of them were there in 1941. They remember the darkness, the tilt, the silence after the bombs stopped falling. One petty officer pauses near a sealed bulkhead, resting his hand on the steel. "Men died here," he murmurs. Another sailor nods. "And now this ship's going to make it mean something." No one jokes. The ship carries its history with it. Every rivet, every welded plate, every reinforced compartment. It is not forgotten. It is fuel. The enemy watches. Across the Pacific, Japanese and German intelligence track Allied movements closely. Reports mention a familiar name reappearing in fleet orders. USS West Virginia. Some analysts believe it is a mistake. Perhaps they reused the designation, one officer suggests. Or renamed a newer ship. But photographs tell a different story. There she is. The same hull. The same lines. Alive. A German naval attaché reportedly reacts with disbelief. "Impossible," he says. "No ship takes 6 torpedoes and returns stronger, yet here she is." Sailing directly into one of the largest naval battles in history. Approaching the trap. Leyte Gulf is not a single battle. It is a maze of straits, islands, and narrow passages. Japanese commanders plan to lure American forces away, while battleships slip through to attack vulnerable landing fleets. It is a desperate gamble, and the West Virginia is positioned directly in their path. On the night of October 24, 1944, the sea is calm, the sky is black, visibility is poor, radar screens glow softly in the darkness. An officer reports from the Combat Information Center. Multiple contacts. Bearing west, range closing. The captain leans forward. "Confirm hostile." A pause. "Confirmed. Large surface group. Battleships included." The order comes quickly. Battle stations. Red lights flash throughout the ship. Watertight doors slam shut. Gun crews rush to their stations. Turrets rotate slowly, each movement deliberate and controlled. This is what the West Virginia was rebuilt for. A new way to fight. In 1941, battleships relied on eyesight and rangefinders. In 1944, the West Virginia fights differently. Radar picks up enemy ships long before they are visible. Fire control computers calculate solutions in seconds. Orders flow smoothly from bridge to turret. The captain watches the radar plot tighten. Target range: 20,000 yards and closing. He nods. Hold fire. The crew waits. The enemy does not know they are being watched. That is the advantage. The moment arrives. Range 15,000 yards. Stand by. Sweat beads on foreheads. Hands grip controls. Every man knows the stakes. This is not just combat. This is proof. Proof that the ship they tried to kill has returned. Fire. The West Virginia's main guns erupt in a blinding flash. The concussion slams through the ship, rattling steel and bone. Shells scream into the night, invisible but deadly. Seconds later, radar confirms hits. The enemy formation falters. A voice echoes through the gunnery control room. Direct hit. Another follows. Second target burning. The rebuilt battleship continues firing with relentless precision. She does not rush. She does not hesitate. She simply destroys. Shock on the other side. Japanese ships scramble to respond, but confusion spreads. Radar-guided fire gives the Americans an overwhelming edge. Salvos land with terrifying accuracy. One enemy cruiser explodes, torn apart by heavy shells. Another battleship takes hit after hit, fires raging across its decks. And somewhere, enemy commanders realize the truth. The ship they believed dead is very much alive. And she is exacting a debt. The battle is far from over. But one thing is already clear. The USS West Virginia has returned not as a survivor, but as an executioner. Surigao Strait, October 25th, 1944. Early morning. The darkness is complete. Low clouds hang over the narrow waters of Surigao Strait, swallowing moonlight and sound. The sea is calm, almost deceptively so. To the untrained eye, nothing moves. But on the bridge of the USS West Virginia, the war is glowing bright green on radar screens. Enemy contacts stream across the display. A Japanese battle line is advancing straight into the trap. Rear Admiral Jesse Oldendorf's voice crackles over the radio, calm and deliberate. Execute battle plan. The plan is simple, devastating, final. They will cross the enemy's T. American battleships will unleash full broadsides, while the Japanese can reply with only their forward guns. It is a maneuver as old as naval warfare itself. But tonight, it will be executed with something new. Radar. The advantage Japan never had. The West Virginia tracks targets clearly in the darkness. Every enemy ship is plotted. Speed, course, range. The Japanese fleet, battered and exhausted, does not see what is coming. They believe American battleships are still vulnerable. Slow. Blind at night. They are wrong. A gunnery officer reports. Primary target locked. Range 22,000 yards. The captain nods. Stand by. The silence stretches. Then the command comes. Open fire. The first salvo. The night explodes. The West Virginia's main guns fire in perfect sequence, each blast lighting the sea like a lightning strike. The shockwave ripples across the strait, echoing off distant shores. Shells arc invisibly toward the Japanese line. Seconds later, radar confirms impacts. A battleship takes multiple hits. Another slows. A cruiser erupts in flame. The gunnery officer's voice is tight with disbelief. Direct hits, multiple targets, they're breaking formation. The West Virginia continues firing with mechanical precision. No panic. No hesitation. This is what she was rebuilt for. The Ghost identifies itself. As American salvos rain down, Japanese commanders struggle to understand what is happening. Reports flood in. We are under heavy fire. Enemy battleships firing accurately in total darkness. Our ships are taking catastrophic damage. One officer reportedly asks, "Which American ship is firing like this?" The answer comes back, "USS West Virginia." Silence. Some Japanese officers remember the name from Pearl Harbor reports. They remember the photographs, the sinking, the smoke. They believed her gone. Now she is destroying them. The final blow. The Japanese battleship Yamashiro staggers under repeated hits. Fires rage across her decks. Her speed drops. Her guns fall silent one by one. The West Virginia keeps firing. Salvo after salvo. The range closes. The hits multiply. Finally, Yamashiro rolls, capsizes, and disappears beneath the waves. The strait is filled with burning wreckage and oil slicks. American ships hold formation. No celebration. Only grim understanding. This is annihilation. A debt paid in full. A sailor aboard the West Virginia watches the radar screen as enemy contacts fade one by one. He whispers to himself, "That's for Pearl Harbor." Another crewman answers quietly, "For everyone who didn't make it out." The ship fires again. And again, when the guns finally fall silent, the strait belongs entirely to the Allies. The last battleship versus battleship engagement in history has ended, and the ship that should never have returned has played a decisive role. Shock waves beyond the battlefield. News of the battle travels fast. Allied commanders recognize what this means. The Japanese Navy has lost its ability to conduct major surface operations. The Pacific War has shifted decisively. Across the Atlantic, German naval intelligence receives reports from Japan. A familiar name appears again. USS West Virginia. An officer stares at the report, stunned. 6 torpedoes, he mutters. And it still fought like this. The implication is clear. If the Americans can resurrect a battleship from the harbor floor, what else are they capable of? The end of an illusion. For Japan's allies and enemies alike, a belief dies that night. That damage equals defeat. That destruction is permanent. That some losses cannot be reversed. The West Virginia proves otherwise. She proves that industrial power, engineering, and relentless will can bring the dead back to life. The sea grows quiet again. Wreckage burns. And the West Virginia turns away from the strait, her guns cooling, her mission complete. But her story is not finished, because the war will end. And when it does, the legacy of this ship will shake how the world understands recovery, resilience, and power. Pacific Ocean. 1945. The guns are quiet now. The USS West Virginia cuts through calm water under a pale sky, escorting convoys and covering landings as the war draws toward its final chapter. The chaos of Surigao Strait is behind her, but the echoes remain in every bulkhead and corridor. She is no longer just a battleship. She is a message. From wreck to warning. When reports of Leyte Gulf spread across the world, naval analysts begin to reread everything they thought they understood about warfare. Ships were not meant to come back from the bottom of a harbor. Battleships hit by multiple torpedoes were supposed to be scrapped, not rebuilt, modernized, and returned to frontline combat. Yet the West Virginia did exactly that. German officers studying the Pacific War take notice. They compare Pearl Harbor photographs with later combat reports and realize something unsettling. America did not just replace what was destroyed. America rebuilt it stronger, faster, smarter. The human cost remembered. Aboard the West Virginia, memorial plaques quietly appear near the compartments where sailors died in 1941. Crew members stop there sometimes. They touch the steel. They remember. One sailor says to another, "This ship carries ghosts." The other replies, "Then we carry them forward." There is no celebration in that. Only resolve. The West Virginia sails on not as a symbol of revenge, but as proof that sacrifice was not wasted. What the world learned. The lesson of the West Virginia is not just about steel and torpedoes. It is about systems, training, logistics, engineering, decision-making under pressure. The choice to raise her, The choice to modernize instead of scrap. The choice to trust skilled workers and give them resources. These are decisions that shape wars long before battles begin. One Allied officer summarizes it best. Victory didn't start at Leyte, it started in a dry dock. The final accounting. When the war ends, the West Virginia returns home. She is scarred. Aged. Proud. Her crew lines the rails as she enters harbor, flags snapping in the wind. Civilians cheer, cameras flash. But few truly understand what this ship represents. She survived 6 torpedoes. She was written off by enemies and allies alike. She returned to destroy enemy fleets. That is not luck. That is capability. Why commanders were shocked? German commanders were not shocked because a ship returned to service. They were shocked because it returned better. Because it fought smarter. Because it represented a system that could absorb punishment and come back stronger. A system they could not match. The West Virginia was not just a battleship. She was industrial warfare made visible. The last word. Years later, veterans will speak of her with quiet respect. The ship that refused to stay dead. Not because she was invincible, but because she proved something terrifying to America's enemies. You can sink the ship. You can kill the crew. You can burn the harbor. But if the system behind it remains intact, it will come back. And when it does, it will hit harder.